My life before addiction was actually pretty good. I had some very strong Christian parents and a good home. Took very good care of us. They raised us very well. They were very involved in our lives. And about the time I was 15 years old, I met some friends at school that just started taking a path down and started drinking. I lost my virginity and began a life of multiple sexual partners. By the time that I was 18 years old, my parents actually were divorcing for some infidelity, and my life at home began to crumble. I also found out that I was pregnant, and my boyfriend at the time told me that if I did not have an abortion, that he would take the baby away from me and that I would never see it again. For some reason, I believed him, and I agreed and went ahead and had the abortion, which was probably the most devastating thing that happened in my life at that time. I got started into crystal meth when, after I'd had the abortion and after my family life began to crumble and my parents were getting divorced. I needed some kind of an outlet to get away from the pain, or wanted some kind of an outlet. It wasn't long before I met a whole crowd of people that were using, and it just took one time before I was hooked. For the next 7 years, I devoted my life to that drug. I was around the wrong people. I was just all over the place. I was a mess. Everything that I had was, I lost and gave up to crystal. My parents didn't know who I was anymore. My brother, I didn't have a good family life at all anymore, and I rarely showed up at home. In the middle of my addiction, I got pregnant again. And when all my friends around me were telling me that I needed to have another abortion, all that played in the back of my mind was the first time, and that I just could not go through that again. Even in my addiction, I know that God was working, and I know my mom was praying for me, and that God strategically placed people in my life to help me. I met a young lady that was pregnant, and she got me a little excited about my pregnancy, and I began to think that I could actually have this baby. I went to the doctor. I was about 18 weeks pregnant, and I was honest with him and told him about my drug addiction. And it was at that appointment that I found out that I was having twins. I was completely floored, and it was really at that time that I found out that God had forgiven me, or I acknowledged that God had forgiven me for what I had done, and if He could do that, then I could forgive myself. That began the change to where I wanted to get help, I guess, and do the right thing. I stayed clean for most of my pregnancy, but then, soon after they were born, I did start using again for the next 2 years. When they were about 2 years old, and I just couldn't handle life anymore, and I didn't have an apartment for them to live in, and their father and I didn't get along, and my mom was very close to taking them away from me, I began to cry out to God for help. I actually, one night, just asked Him and laid everything down online and asked God that He would just come and rescue me where I was at and help me. Within 2 days, a friend of mine who I actually thought had gone to prison had called me at the house that I was at and asked for me. When he asked for me, I was right there, and my friend handed me the phone, and he told me that God had taken him to Teen Challenge, and that God had laid me on his heart the last couple days, and that He just had to get in touch with me and tell me about this place called the Home of Hope. They were renovating it, and they were getting ready to open it, and the Home of Hope was a place where women could bring their children with them and get help from addiction. I just surrendered everything my first night. It was the very hardest thing that I could have ever done. The hardest step that I took was walking into that place, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. While I was there, I surrendered and asked God to really just change my life and gut me from the inside out and take out everything that was not good, and redirect me in my life so that I could be a better mom for my children. 3 weeks later, my girls joined me. They actually didn't come with me the first time. At the Home of Hope, they taught me how to become a better mother to my children, how to be a productive member of society. Everything that I'd lost over the last 7 years to drug use, they helped build back into my life as far as confidence, I guess, and just where to go from there. It was a huge blessing in my life. I don't believe that I would be where I'm at today without going through Teen Challenge and the Home of Hope. Being able to bring my daughters with me to the Home of Hope was huge. In the midst of my addiction, there were many different times that I wanted to get help. After my girls were born, that was really when my heart began to change and I knew I needed help. But there was not many programs out there where I could get that help with my daughters. I'd have to leave them behind somewhere. And in doing that, I would not have been able to learn to learn how to really become a good mother to them, which is needed in the time of getting clean. Not only do you need to learn how to become a productive member of society, but if you do have children, you have to learn how to become a parent for the first time, really. Prior to going into Teen Challenge, my idea of parenting was sitting them up in front of a TV so that I could go in the next room and smoke or do whatever it was that I needed to do, or pass them off to my mom and dad or whoever could take them so that I could run rampage around the city. So taking them in there and finding a place where I was able to bring them with me was a huge blessing and answer to prayer. I didn't actually know that there was a place out there that existed like that. And I know that God knew my heart and He knew that I wanted them with me and that it was important to heal that relationship between me and them as well. Since getting clean and graduating the Home of Hope, God has done amazing, huge things in my life. After I graduated the program, I decided to stay on and be an intern. And through my internship, I learned so much about ministry and counseling and assisting in counseling. And I ended up staying there for 5 years and became the center supervisor. I loved working there. It was a huge blessing to me to be able to give back and help girls get through what I had already been through at one point. Also, after I graduated, a group of men from the Men's Center at a Teen Challenge event had actually led, who's now my husband, but the father of my children, through a prayer, and he accepted Christ, and I watched God change him instantly. It was like God had taken a computer chip out of his brain and inserted a new one and just dramatically changed. A year later, after that had happened, Jeff had proposed to me, and we got married, and then we had a little boy, and so now we have 3 children. In 2009, Jeff and I decided to go ahead and leave the state of Arizona and move to Tennessee to be closer to some family and kind of get away from Phoenix and all of the memories that we had there and start fresh and start new. Since coming to Knoxville, God has given both of us jobs and positions in careers that I really never knew was possible considering my addiction and the fact that I didn't have any kind of degrees or college education. He is the reason for our success. He is the reason that we were able to join together and a marriage and not pull apart and not have a broken family. Instead, God brought us together and completed us with one more child. Just this year, we were able to buy our first home, and that's after years of cleaning up some horrible credit and things that we had done. But God told us when we moved here that we would buy a house in 4 years, and it's been 4 years, and we bought it in March. So praise God for that. I think the most important thing that I could say is that when people look at me now or today, they don't see my past on me. And that's only God can do that.